I'm a big believer in the fact that we are one conversation, one perspective, and one decision away from a completely different life. So let's talk. And sometimes it's not the heartbreak that breaks us. It's grieving the story we never got to live. And that's what this episode is about. Getting over someone you never actually dated, but felt everything for. Wow. You been there? Situationships, the talking stage, a close friendship that got confusing, the almost, and maybe even just a relationship. What we are about to get into is something that anybody can relate to if you've ever lost somebody that you care so deeply for, regardless of the reason why you lost them, whether it was your fault or they just walked away. Regardless if you experienced some form of pain, we're going to unravel that and we're going to understand it tonight. Okay? So that being said, or today, maybe you never held their hand. Maybe you did briefly, whatever it may be. Maybe you never called them yours officially, right? There is no official of anniversary or titles, but the pain, the confusion, the what ifs that you kept holding on to that kept you up at night, all of that was real. So if your heart is heavy over a connection that never fully began technically, this conversation is for you. Welcome to Pieces to Peace podcast. This is the first episode. My heart feels a little heavy today in terms of just like emotional. I recorded a few pieces of content that got me in my bag, and I didn't want to record this, but something told me to record the first ever episode. I really wanted to do this. It's been on my heart, and this podcast, this series, Pieces to Peace, is exactly what it is. After heartbreak, after trauma, after a difficult season, we often feel like we are in shambles and pieces. And the healing journey is feeling those emotions, picking up the pieces and those versions of ourselves, and reclaiming our peace again. So, I'm the host, Deese. First name is Dickinson, last name is Clayton, but call me Deese. And this is where we get honest, where hope becomes practical, and your emotions finally get the clarity that it deserves. So let's get into it. All right. So if you want to know, right, I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy for feeling so deeply. Whether they felt the same way back, or they reciprocated the energy, or they make you feel stupid or silly for feeling the way you are okay for feeling the way you feel, and you are allowed to feel the way that you feel. You're not weak for struggling to let go. And you're definitely not alone when it comes to this. I'll tell you that much. Because what you're feeling right now is the potential. The almost. The version of love that could have been. But because it wasn't official, that doesn't mean it wasn't real. So let's talk about that. Right? Why it hurts so deeply. I want to hit you with the obvious question here, right? The elephant in the room. Why does it hurt so much if we weren't even together? That's the question I received. And that's what led to this episode. Because I've been there. And oftentimes, the ones you never dated are the ones that hurt the most. The almost. The could have beens. Right? Because your heart doesn't need a label to get attached. Your nervous system doesn't need a relationship status to be bonded to someone. You know what it needs? It simply needs shared energy, unspoken promises, late night conversations, and the imagination of what could be. Right? Shared energy, whether it's physical energy, emotional, spiritual, just being around the person's presence, each other's presence. Unspoken promises. Every Tuesday night you guys got ice cream. Every Friday afternoon you guys went to the gym together. That routine, that unspoken promise. You didn't establish it, but you got into a rhythm, and that was just that's what we do now. The unspoken promises. The late night conversations. Out by the lake. The imagination of what could have been. That's where the pain sits. And the version of them that only existed in your mind or in those brief moments, right? In the hope your heart built on the future. You're not just mourning a person, you're mourning a possibility. And possibilities, they're infinite. So grief is hard to let go and place it somewhere. And that's when it surfaces, when they're gone. So let's get scientific for a second. You can fall for someone even though you were just simply texting them. Yep. If you were just consistently texting someone, you can fall for them. You literally can become chemically attached to someone through voice notes and dreams and hope and shared playlists. Dopamine, oxytocin, cortisol, they are all released not because of what's happening physically, but because what's happening emotionally. You were emotionally invested in someone without security of reciprocity. Can't even say the word. Reciprocity. Without them reciprocating the energy, you were already getting invested in someone. That's scary. That's what made it so vulnerable. And that's why it hurts so much. Because the more silent the bond was, the louder the grief becomes. Let me shift this perspective for you, right? You're not actually grieving them. You're actually grieving the version of you that felt finally seen. The connection that gave you hope. The timing you prayed would work out. The version of love that didn't make you question your worth. But the truth is, clarity isn't always loud, and sometimes it's really quiet. Sometimes it comes in the form of silence, distance, or someone who simply didn't choose you back. And that doesn't mean you aren't lovable. It means what you felt, what you hoped for, what your heart was holding on to wasn't matched to the future peace. What you were holding on to, the future you thought you were traveling to, it never came to existence. It never lined up with what you thought you were going to travel to in terms of future peace. Letting go without closure is a special kind of pain. Because closure is a choice. But when there's a lot of loose ends, when you never actually fully solidified the relationship, it makes it that much harder to give it to yourself. But it also invites a deeper kind of healing. And that's the fun part. Not so fun of a fun part, but because now the closure doesn't come from them, it comes from you. It comes from you choosing to say that connection meant something to me, but I still choose peace. I may never get the answers I want, but I will give myself the care I need. Even if I loved them in silence, I won't abandon myself in the noise. I want you to write this down. Grab a pen and paper, grab your phone, or go into the note section. Do me a favor. I'll wait a second and write this down. This is a very deep, therapeutic phrase for you to really kind of like an affirmation. Just because I miss them doesn't mean I belong with them. I'll say it again. Just because I miss them doesn't mean I belong with them. I want you to also write down, closure isn't given, it's chosen. Closure isn't given, it's chosen. And you get to choose it now. So, I want you to reframe and reset the circumstances and the experience you're going through. If you're listening right now, I want you to take a deep breath with me. I want you to inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. I'm going to do it with you, okay? Here we go. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Now repeat this with me. I loved with honesty. That's not weakness, that's purity. The connection wasn't wasted. It was experienced. And now I release it. And try this grounding affirmation. Try to say it as often as you possibly can. I'm not waiting on someone to choose me because I'm choosing myself. Let me say this again. This right here moves mountains. I'm not waiting on someone to choose me. I'm choosing myself. Healing doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with a whisper. Like right now. A pause. Like just a second ago. A one decision to finally let go of what was never yours to hold. A simple decision to finally let go what was never yours to hold. And this is your reminder. You don't have to wait for someone to explain why they couldn't love you back. You literally get to decide today that you're worth a love that chooses you out loud every single time. And if you're still wrestling with the weight, trying to figure out what to do next, then check out the healing community. It's in my social media platforms, Peace of Dees, Instagram, TikTok. It's in my bio. It's going to be in the description of the YouTube video. Depending on where you're listening to, it might be in the description if I can attach it, but you can find me on social media platforms. And join the healing community, or take advantage of the 7-day emotional reset course. I have a plethora of healing resources, whether it's the free ebook with the training video teaching you to let go, whatever it may be, there is something out there to help you get back to you. And we are often, literally, like I said, one conversation away from a shift in perspective that can lead to a decision that can change our entire life. So, my question to you is, are you ready to take the next step, to protect your peace, to honor your emotions, and choose the version of you that never had to beg to be chosen? Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, much love, peace from Dees.